From Tally to Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin Energy. The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Let's go!
Wake up! It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. Coming up on today's show, how to manage Brock. Will Mike be able to pull back on his aggressive tendencies? We got David Hood from TigerNet joining us to talk about Clemson and the ups and downs of being a Florida State fan. Does any other fan base deal with what the Noles have been through? Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com. Promo code Warchant BOGO. Warchant BOGO. Buy one, get one free. 260 milligrams, all natural caffeine. No sugar, vitamins, nutrients, all in one little bottle. Shout out to our guys at Vitamin Energy and our guy Matt Lasser, who drove to Dallas last weekend, Corey, because of the weather event, and then actually turned around and drove back. How he did it? If you watched the Warchant report, you would have seen that he took a shot of Vitamin Energy. That's what got him through it. Whatever you need to get through, Vitamin Energy will make it better. Use it. VitaminEnergy.com, promo code Warchant BOGO. Warchant BOGO. Buy one, get one free. Warchant.com, ultimate Seminole sports source. Use the promo code Brocktober for 1 year of access for only $1, everybody. That's Brock. Just kidding. We should have done that, though, Corey, right? That would have been cool.
I don't know about that. That's a lot of pressure on that kid. He's already facing a little bit since he gets to play against Clemson.
I think we'll get him today after practice. I think
probably, yeah. Mike's always really good about making the people available that we ask for, and I'm sure people are asking for Brock Glenn for sure.
Yeah. So, how are you, man? Headlines was awesome.
Oh, thanks, buddy. Yeah, I'm good. Shout out before we get into the show. My sister Kelly is having a pretty major, important surgery later on today. Actually, probably while you guys are listening to this, it's a morning surgery. So just send out well wishes and thoughts and whatever you got for the Clark family, so we can get through this. Me and my mom will be at the hospital. Not sure if we'll be able to do a show on Wednesday, Aslan, for Thursday, but we got a live show. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that, buddy, because I might still be at the hospital. So we'll figure all that out. But yeah, just sending well wishes her way.
Absolutely, man. All the good thoughts, all the good vibrations, and things of that nature towards you and the fam. We'll keep our fingers crossed on that. And we're not going to waste saving on a football team that's 1-4. Not going to do it.
Yes,
not going to do it. Way to show perseverance. I think Mike Norvell had been really happy with the response you showed during headlines, being able to troubleshoot, identify, evaluate on the fly. Maybe need to get my windows open. Maybe need to get my blinds open, get some better lighting. Maybe need to make the Solomon's choice, the Sophie's choice. Do I go with hardwire internet or do I go with my $200 headset for the audio to give the people at home a little bit better sound quality? I thought you hit on both those things, Corey. I hope that kind of decision-making is what we'll see out of Brock Glenn and the staff around him and the players in front of him Saturday heading into number 15 Clemson.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to be an example for everyone associated or near the program. That's what I do. And, look, I'm going to I'm going to get a little Hugh Freeze going on here. I'm going to blame Ben Spicer for telling me I sounded and looked fine. When I got into the StreamYard link before the show started. He's like, yep, look good, sound fine. And then as soon as the show starts, they're telling me they can't see me or hear me well. So that's on Ben. And I'm not Mike Norvell. I'm not a big enough man to not pass blame. I'm not going to take full responsibility for it. I got to be helped too. Like DJ, it's not all my fault. I need some help, Aslan. I need some help. But unlike DJ, no offense, DJ, I did persevere and find a way to get through it and still win the day.
Hey, man, we also need help around us. I want to shout out Michael Hoffman, who dropped something in our email boxes on Tuesday afternoon. And I am so disappointed in myself, but I'm not surprised at my ineptitude. But he tells us that, I've been doing some research, not comprehensive, about biggest drop-offs in win total from one year over to the other in recent decades, and not counting COVID, of course. And he breaks it down. There's been teams that have been -9 as recently as Michigan State back in 2015-16, the year they made it to the playoff with Mark D'Antonio. They ended up winning 3 games the following season after winning 12 the year prior. How about Mac Brown at Texas? Went from 13 to 5. So that's -8. Will Muschamp beat my boy Jimbo Fisher in Doak Campbell Stadium in 2012, Corey. Won 11 games that year. And then in 2013, he couldn't even beat Alex Atkins' team that didn't even throw a forward pass. They went 7 games in the wrong direction. But my disappointment comes from me that I lived this. I was there for this. Southern Miss had a coach named Larry Fedora. They won 12 games in 2011. They proceeded to lose him because he went to North Carolina. He was actually from College Station, but didn't go to Texas A&M. They hired Kevin Sumlin. He goes to North Carolina. And then Ellis Johnson comes in, which, Corey's got an anecdote about that where apparently our guy Jimbo Fisher might have wanted to hire Ellis Johnson as his defensive coordinator. But in that world, it didn't happen. We had to sell for some guy named Jeremy Pruitt. Anyhow, as I ramble on here, Southern Miss won 12 games in 2011. I was there for it with Larry Fedora. We were flying high in Hattiesburg. SMTTT, Southern Miss to the top. They didn't win one single game the following year. -12.
Yeah. Yep. What they went from 12 to 0?
12 to 0, Corey.
Huh.
Yep.
Southern Miss went undefeated in 2011?
No, but they won the Conference USA championship game. So they played 13 games that year. So I think they went 12-1. Won the bowl game as well. They might have been like 12.
So
yeah.
Even regular season, even if they went 12-2 or something, regular season they had to have at least 10 wins. So they went from 10 to 0, which would be the record, which is insane. So yeah, so look, Florida State in that if we want to just go by that list that I'm looking at now. Great job, Michael. Of FBS like Power 4 schools. Yeah, Michigan State seems to be the but there's no way Michigan State was 12-0 either. So I think you're probably looking at 8 being the record. Like, I don't know what Michigan State did in the regular season, but if you're looking regular season, they weren't 12-0. They were probably, I would guess, 11-1. I don't ever remember living a season where Michigan State football was undefeated.
Yeah, they lost to Nebraska 39-38. Still made it to the playoff and then got boat raced by Bama.
So they went 11-3. So they're 8 wins too. So Florida State could literally set an FBS record. And again, this was, I guess we don't know for sure. We have to do more research. But if they get to 4 wins this year, if they get to 4 wins, they tie a Power 4 record. And if they get to if they only get to 2 or 3 wins, they're going to break probably the all-time Power 4 record. Power 5 big boy college football record for biggest drop off from one season to the next, which is or maybe they win this Saturday night, man.
Come on, Dabo, get your medicine.
They're not 40-point underdogs. It's only 14 or 15 points. Vegas thinks they have a fighting chance. So maybe Brock Glenn, you find some magic with them, and then we're talking about one of the all-time great turnarounds in season. If maybe the Noles will win out, man. Hey, crazier things have happened probably somewhere.
I think the point total is like 47.5 as well, Corey. So do the math on that for us. So what are they thinking? That's going to be like a
31 to 16?
Yeah.
31 to 16?
I'll take that. Sign me up for that, man.
I'm not sure how Florida State's going to score 16 points, but if they do, I'm feeling pretty good about the Duke game in a couple weeks.
Yeah, there we go. All right, so practice Tuesday. You guys can see the video. Mike Norvell went ahead and ruled DJ Uiagalelei out. Did not necessarily name a starting quarterback, but you guys got functioning brains. I know the women do. I think some of the guys do that listen to the show. So DJ's been ruled out. You probably even see in some of the video that we shot from practice on Tuesday. He's got kind of he's got a removable cast on his throwing hand, but he was out at practice. It was otherwise the Brock Glenn show, Luke Kromenhoek, even Trevor Jackson out of the black shirt into the green. Welcome to the party, big dog. So period 3 is actually not that bad, Corey.
Good.
They focus on red zone. There was like a red zone situation, which I think they did that either on Tuesday or Wednesday of last week as well, which I think maybe speaks a little bit to obviously the struggles they've had in the red zone, like the goal line more so, right? I mean, Memphis, it reared its head. They had 1st and goal inside the 5 and they couldn't punch it in. And then obviously SMU, the 2 quarterback power runs they used on 3rd and 4th down. But I think part of me was, I think it was more specific to the fact that, man, like, we don't know how often we're going to get in this situation against Clemson. So golly, we need to drill it so that if we do get down here, we can cash in with 7 points. They had a touchdown. Lawrence Toafili had a touchdown, and they looked quite well doing it. Thought the offensive line did a really good job. Got a lot of good push. Made you feel really good about what they could be if they could sustain that. But they didn't sustain it. So touchdown on that drive. Then Luke went out there. Luke threw a ball into pretty tight coverage against Ashland Barker to Darion Williamson. Ball got batted up, and then your boy, number 41, whose name escapes me, the Pest, I think is There was a kid in my senior year of high school who transferred in, who was like 5'8", but he was jacked, and they called him Tick because he was just like the most persistent. Like always talking, like running everywhere. He wasn't the greatest player, but like a lot of effort. But they called him Tick because he was just always on you. He just wanted to get away from me. Yeah, shout out our guy 41 who had the interception there in period 3. Then Brock came back and nothing really was doing for them in that last sort of scenario situation. We then go outside, Corey. It's like, I don't know what period it was, but it's 11 on 11. It's big time. If I can set the stage, it's 11 on 11. We got the music playing out there. We got all the way turned up playing.
It's AJ Cottrell.
There we go. All right, AJ Cottrell.
That's 41. Yeah, walk-on linebacker who makes a lot of plays.
Yeah. So we got all the way turned up playing out there. Our guy Brock is excited for this moment. It's finally his time to shine, man. He's out there like a wily veteran. He's slapping O lineman on the rear end. He's barking out calls. Tens the mic. Man, they've got everything going. He's eye of the tiger. He's excited for everything. He's moving guys in motion, kicking the leg up. Hey, come over here. You're going in motion. First play, 11 on 11. And then unfortunately, we get a little bit of a get a whistle, flag in the air, penalty, false start, offense.
Okay.
So didn't feel good about that. And then
if you get them out of the way on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Right.
They did have another good run by Lawrence Toafili in that 11 on 11 period where Brock was running the show. But that was really all they had in that period. Otherwise, man, one-on-ones, I had him going, let me see here, 3 of 11. And he was only betrayed, I think, he wasn't even betrayed on a drop. It was just really, really intense, great coverage by Zarier on Malik Benson. Just the accuracy wasn't there, man. Like the deep ball wasn't there. So I wonder what the path forward is going to be with Brock, because I don't know. I was hoping that maybe he could take some just shots, and I just think he'll be more willing to stay in the pocket and wait for something to happen downfield and absorb punishment just so he can give his guys a chance. But nothing really was there for the downfield passing game. So I do wonder what Mike and company are going to think. Because how much do you think Mike just really didn't have an answer to us asking him about, a positive answer to provide on how Brock looked at practice? And he mentioned something about, we're working on things, we're working on schemes, because I don't think anything they were trying to work on Tuesday is going to be able to click for them on Saturday.
Yeah, man, I don't. Honestly, you want Florida State to shock the world and win this game and be one of the bigger upsets of the college football season. But I don't care about the Clemson game. Like, I want them to play well. That'd be nice, but they're not going to. The offense hasn't been good all year. Now they're facing the best defense they're going to see. So the Clemson game isn't what I'm concerned about. It's the game, all the games after that. But Brock Glenn is being thrown into another really, really difficult situation. I would have liked to have, if this was going to happen anyway, and I know you can't predict injuries, but I feel like a benching should have been in store before a dislocated pinky or whatever it is with DJ. And, it would have been nice for Brock to have played against Dallas, played in Dallas, and played against Cal and played against Memphis, frankly. If I'm running the Florida State football team, when they go into halftime against Memphis with 60 yards of offense, Brock Glenn is my quarterback for that second half. Then he plays all of the California game. He plays all of the SMU game. And now you'd have a better idea of what this guy can actually do going into Clemson. And he'd have more of a runway to, at least establish himself and feel comfortable. Now his first real action since the Orange Bowl is against effing Clemson. Great. Your job as a coach, and again, I know we can't blame this necessarily on Norvell, but we all could see a change was coming. Now, it was expedited because of the injury, I guess, but we could all see a change was coming. What? You're not putting your players in a best position to succeed when you say, good luck, Brock, in Charlotte. You say, go get him, Brock, in the Orange Bowl. And then you say, Brock, I believe in you against Clemson when you have one of the worst offenses in Florida State history. So not really setting him up for success, but I do want to see something to build on. And you say that he doesn't. I mean, I'm not all that concerned with one-on-ones. Jordan Travis wasn't 10 of 11 in one-on-ones. That's more of a DB wide receiver drill. You get open, usually you catch it. If you're not open, you don't.
Yeah, but guys didn't have chances to make plays. That was my concern. I'm not focusing on completion percentage.
If he's not missing wide open guys, then I don't really have a. And even if he is, I'm more concerned with the 7-on-7 and the 11-on-11 stuff than one-on-ones. I do think that's just more of a wide receiver DB drill than half the time I don't even know who's throwing the passes when I chart one-on-ones. I'm just charting who won between the wide receiver and the DB. But yeah, I mean, I'm not expecting him to go out and look like John Elway or Patrick Mahomes. He's not going to be very accurate, not against that defense. But I do think it's up to the head coach. Like, if you're going to drop him back 35 times against Clemson, that's a fireable offense. And I don't think they will. I hope they don't. That is, like, if you get down 17-0, do not change a thing. The game plan is the game plan. Just control the ball, try to get him outside the pocket, have him, like, it would be nice, it would be cool to see if these receivers could get open with 6 seconds of time. Maybe a couple scramble drills, right? Yeah. He gets outside the pocket, guys get free. That's a big way. Jordan Travis made a lot of big plays by escaping the pocket and continue to look downfield. That's all the stuff I want to see on Saturday night. He's going to be pressured. He is going to get sacked. He's probably going to turn it over a couple of times. That's just what young guys do against good defenses. But I just hope he doesn't. It would be a dereliction of duty as a coach and a play caller if he's always throwing on 3rd and 11. One of the worst plays of Mike Norvell's tenure before this season was the first half 2022 against Louisville. Rodemaker's in the game. Jordan Travis, we don't know if he's out for the year. It's late in the half. It's like 3rd and 12. You're almost in field goal range, and you're dropping Rodemaker back to just scan the field. Make the right read. See who's open. It's like, man, he ain't ready for this right now. And, of course, he throws an interception right to the linebacker. So I just hope that, like, I had no problem with the way he called the game when Brock Glenn went in there. I mean, I had a little bit of a problem. I would have liked to seen him not just drop back and stand in the pocket tall. I'd like to get him on the move some play action, something. But he also started him off with an easy screen pass that, of course, he held on. I just want to see that, man. I don't mind if I see, honestly, like a Jaden Daniels type game. Jaden Daniels the other day, I know he ended up throwing for a lot of yards, but in the first half, I feel like he was 16 of 18 for 120. Like, that's fine. Just coach to who he is, and don't put him in impossible situations. Short passes, screen passes, not slants, but actual screen passes, because as you mentioned, screen passes slants can get bad in the air and intercepted, and have him run pass options. Just take care of the kid, because you put him again in an impossible situation. But that said, don't care how he plays in this game. It's not a referendum on Brock Glenn. If he plays against Duke, that is absolutely a referendum. Those games moving forward are absolutely referendums on whether he can be the guy next year or not.
Do you trust Mike Norvell to call a game like that, though? I don't see him.
No, he hasn't. No, I don't.
No, I just, because I feel like he's not going to punt the ball. I mean, I think if if it's 4th and 4 at their own 46, like, I think he's going to go for it. And I'll give him a little bit of leeway, because I feel like the defense is probably not going to be playing lights out. So you really can't say, well, we're going to try to play field position. We're going to trust our defense here. But at the same time, I don't trust Mike Norvell to take a conservative tack. I think he's going to coach that game aggressively until it's almost unforgivable not to. Didn't he almost try to go for it on like 4th down with Brock in the game against SMU, but then call the timeout and kind of got his wits about him, and there might have been a penalty on the play.
I think there was a penalty. Yeah, I think there was a penalty. That's why he did it.
Yeah, it was like 4th and 8. He's like, send him out. Let's do this. And then it was like 4th and 13. He's like, all right, never mind. It's like, God, yeah. I mean, there's no way you should have. So I don't know. I don't share your. I mean, I share your hope, right? Like I hope that he tries to play this. I mean, why not suck the air out of the ball and try to make this as few possessions back and forth as possible? Because we always talk about, right? Like, you know, when last season, beginning of this year, when we're going into things, the team that gets, you know, when you're the more talented team, you want to get more possessions. That gives you more opportunity to score points. Florida State is not going to be the more talented team in, I don't know, like 50% of the games from here on out. So why try to keep playing very aggressively? But I don't think he can turn that switch off inside himself.
Well, I hope he does, man. I understand that, you know, I know on Saturday they went tempo, a little more up-tempo than normal on some of those drives. But, yes, man, he's got to shorten this game. The only chance to stay competitive is to have it be like a Georgia Tech game, 7 or 8 possessions. And, you know, that's not what you want. That's not fun to watch. That Georgia Tech game wasn't fun to watch. But, you know, if Clemson has 12 possessions, you're going to lose by a lot. So you got to find a way to shorten it. You got to take care of the kid. You just got to take care of him. He can make plays with his legs, and I don't mean he's going to run for 150 yards. I mean, he can avoid some pressure, roll out, and as long as it's wired into his head, you are not throwing it just up for grabs. Give one of these guys a chance to get open and throw it to him. There is a chance that he'll be able to make plays downfield. I think. No, Stanford has a pretty mobile quarterback, but I think you know, Brock Glenn will be one of the more mobile quarterbacks Clemson faces this season. Again, he's not Lamar Jackson, but he can avoid some pressure. And I know you're trying to build a quarterback. So I get it, but you don't want to just shortcut everything. You want him to learn to be a real quarterback, and being a real quarterback is, okay, go through progressions. My first read, they've covered that. My second read, okay, he's not open either. Let me turn to the left to see where my third read is. Oh God, I've been sacked and I've fumbled. That's what's going to happen on Saturday night. He won't. I don't think he'll be able to process it that fast, that quickly, to be able to get to a third read without getting sacked. So the way you coach that, in my opinion, is, look, we have a primary receiver on this play. Malik Benson, let's just, for instance, let's say he's running a post. If the safety comes down to stop the run, you are throwing the post to Malik Benson. If it's not there, you're throwing it to Toafili in the flat, or you are running. Those are the options. You are not looking on the backside to see if Jaylen Brown's beating his guy. You're not looking to the tight end. It is a one read or a two read offense. Give the kid a chance. And tell him it's okay to put the ball down and run. And when you do or put the ball down, avoid pressure. And he's going to probably see some ghosts. He's probably going to scramble even when there is a good pocket, because that's what young quarterbacks do, especially young quarterbacks that had to play Georgia, and that's their last game experience, really. But you know, I would just take some shots, like to throw to Darian Williamson. There's people think that like there's a risk to throw deep balls. Those are the most risk averse throws. Like, okay, say they intercept it or you throw it out of bounds like DJ always does. All right, well, you live to fight another play. But take some shots, not intermediate shots in the middle of the field. We could get run back for touchdowns. Take some shots down the sidelines. Just take some shots. If they intercept it, oh well. It's like a Master Motto punt as long as you tackle them. But I would like to see more shots downfield. You get man-to-man coverage, just see if you can run past them, put it out there. There's no real risk there, and have them have one or two reads and run. That's your best way to build this kid's confidence up, and then you can hopefully go from there. If you just do, I mean, Aslan, I looked up the numbers because I had to write about it. He was 8 of 23 against Louisville. It's crazy he threw 23 times, and I think he was 9 of 29 against Georgia. 9 of 29. Like, it's that he should have thrown 11 times in that game. It just, we're going to run it. Jakai's running pretty well. We're going to run it. We're going to shorten this game and try to only lose by 35 or 40. And obviously Clemson is not, this situation is not that. Your defense is better than your defense was in Miami by a long shot, by a wide margin. So it should and it could be a competitive game, but the way it gets uncompetitive is a couple pick sixes. So get him out. Don't put him in a position. And also, Brock Glenn hasn't been tackled much in the last 3 years. So ball security is a big deal. So yeah, I mean, if he can hold, like if he just plays a normal-ish game, makes a few plays with his feet, and does not turn the ball over, I think that's something to build on, whether they score 11, 16, or 20 points.
All right, some of the other things from practice. We'll end on a good note on the practice observation, but some of the other things that just kind of irked me. That final play where they go goal line in 11-on-11 before the first snack break of the day. I can't even describe the trajectory on the throw. And we just went out the back of the end zone. It was a throwaway, but it was a competitive throw. It was inexplicably bad. Later on,
I wasn't there, so I don't know what you're talking about. How can it be a throwaway but be an inexplicably bad throw? If he's trying to throw it out of the end zone, then what do you mean?
Because I don't think he was trying to throw it out the back of the end zone, but the way that it
I
went
thought
off.
You said okay. I thought you said it was a throwaway.
No, I mean I hope it was, but like there wasn't urgent pressure in his face. There wasn't any kind of clock that he had to get the ball. You know, I mean, like you get the snap off. The play can go on for however long it needs to go. I don't know what happened on that throw. It was not nice, and this goes back to them looking like that in that particular play for the last month, and then them not being able to score when they get on the goal line against Memphis and SMU. So just kind of these same things continue to kind of happen. The most egregious drop of the day was by Malik Benson in another similar situation where they're in the red zone. And it deflated everybody that was within 15 yards of him that was on the field. Like the coaches, teammates, just like you felt the wince of all of them when they saw him drop that. I did have a good competitive rep against Azaria that Azaria got the best of him on. Even the referees are out here not doing their job, Corey. Literally, our guy Charles Lester is playing some bump and run, tight coverage, man on man. And as he gets to the line of scrimmage in 11-on-11s inside, he's looking to the sideline to get confirmation from the referee that he's not in the neutral zone. And the referee's just looking off. Charles Lester literally starts waving his hand. Oi, oi. Am I on? And then the ref's like, yeah, you're fine. Puts a thumbs up. That pissed me off probably more than anything the entire day. And I was not happy.
All right, we're not here to take shots at the volunteer.
Oh, I am. No, they get paid. They get paid, man. They're getting paid.
I don't think they get paid. They don't get paid a lot.
Well, I mean, I'm sure they get a few $100 to get out of bed every day. I mean,
I don't think that at all. I would do that. Why don't we do it then? If they're giving us $100, I can tell a guy if he's on sides or off. I was just assuming they're doing it because they're football fans.
I don't know. Maybe. Anyhow, if you're going to volunteer, you can't go volunteer at the food bank and not put food in the bowl when somebody's asking for food. I mean, I'm volunteering at the food bank.
Hey, man, this is what losing seasons do to all of us, folks. I can't get my computer right for Seminole headlines. Aslan's ripping the volunteer refs. It's all. Hey, everybody's up for grabs, man. Everybody, it's all on the table, buddy.
7-on-7, first play of 7-on-7. So like they've gone to the sidelines. Now we're switching. We're going to 7-on-7. First play, there's a misalignment from a guy that's been here and played football for a few years, and he has no idea where to be in a 7-on-7 play. And I think it was Luke Kromenhoek actually identified and had to tell him, and then the assistant coach that deals with his position had to point him in the right direction. We also had an ineligible receiver downfield. I don't even know how that happens in a 7-on-7 situation, but it did. All that said, though,
that's impossible to happen. The guy that snapped it ran downfield.
I don't know. I've got procedure call under 7-on-7. So maybe it was when they went to 11-on-11. Maybe I have it mischaracterized.
Or maybe somebody might have started too early, but not an illegal man downfield. That wouldn't have been.
What did an eligible receiver? He patted his head. The referee patted the top of his hat, which is an eligible receiver.
That's crazy. That doesn't make any sense.
I know. Anyhow. All right, but the good, though, you said 7-on-7 you're a little bit more interested in. Brock did go 5 of 8 in that situation.
Let's go.
Including like 5 consecutive completions. 1 to B.J. Gibson, 1 to Darion Williamson, Micaiah Danzy, Malik Benson, and back to Micaiah Danzy as well. The big celebration of the day, which wasn't as big of a celebration. It was about as neither is Mike Norvell's pre-practice run anymore. It was only Dante Anderson going about at 65% with him. Very sad to see that one. But it was a throw from Luke Kromenhoek to Micaiah Danzy where Danzy ran by the coverage. And then when Kromenhoek threw it, I'm like, man, I think he overthrew him. But Danzy's so freaking fast that he caught it in stride. About 5 guys ran down the field and celebrated with him. And then the play of the day was in one-on-ones. B.J. Gibson, off the arm of Luke Kromenhoek, does a twirling catch in stride, has got his back obviously to the ball, but then, doesn't stop, twirls around, IDs the ball, tracks it, catches it as Ricky Knight is absolutely scraping his face with great coverage and comes down with the catch. So that was the singular best play of the day. B.J. Gibson doing some stuff. I want to see the black shirt come off of our guy there, dude. So maybe another day of practice, and he too can join the garnet-clad folks. No, the white jerseys, because I think defense wears garnet. So that was your Tuesday practice, everybody. It was fun. Corner Pocket Bar and Grill is going to be fun on Thursday night when bingo goes down. So show up, win cash, and also enjoy maybe the Corey wrap or any of the delicious items on their menu. If you decide to show up for lunch today on Wednesday, 5 chicken wings and French fries. That's only $8.99. Good juicy wings. I'm a medium buffalo guy. Corey, you're mild buffalo sauce guy, or have you graduated up to medium yet?
No, I'm mild, but I also like the garlic parm.
Ooh,
okay.
And
another thing, ask for them Daytona style. They put them on the grill.
Ooh.
They toss them and then they put them on the grill. Those are really good too. So try that if you're getting wings at Corner Pocket.
I've never heard of that before. Daytona style.
Yeah, try that one time. They're good. The good stuff. And another thing about Thursday night, it's not just bingo, but the Braves might be playing. They have to win at least one of the next 2 games, and they'll be playing the deciding game against the Padres. And the Falcons are playing the Bucks on Thursday night. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of sports watching for your guy up there. And I think I'll be back in town by then. So yeah, a little Corner Pocket action on Thursday night.
Could you imagine if the college football playoff? I mean, it's apples to avocados, but like, could you imagine if they had to play a game on 4 days rest or something? Like the fact that the Braves had to play last night after, I mean, not even 24 hours after playing like 18 innings.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
Wild. Well, nonetheless, Corner Pocket Bar and Grill also hosts to the happy hour meet and greet 5 to 6 o'clock on Friday. Jeff Cameron, Corey Clark.
Start calling them the unhappy hour. It's the unhappy hour, buddy. Not a lot of positive talk when we're chopping it up about the Noles these days.
David Hood from TigerNet talking Clemson after this. The stars and planets were aligned, everybody, for Florida State to probably host College Game Day for the first time, and I don't remember how long. Clemson held up their end of the bargain. We, unfortunately, in Tallahassee did not. So they're going to be out there in Berkeley, California. But it's still a big game nonetheless, these ACC rivals whenever they clash. We got David Hood joining us from TigerNet. David, thanks so much for taking time out. Folks, David had to deal with Helene much more higher degree than we did here in Tallahassee. We appreciate you taking time out, man. Hope help is starting to trickle in there, and things are kind of starting to turn the tide and go in your guys' favor up there.
You know what? Yeah, it is. I don't know if I'll have power anytime soon. I'm hoping maybe by the time we get back from Tallahassee, there will be power at the house. But right now, I'm kind of leaning on a friend crashing at a student apartment.
Oh, jeez. My gosh. There we go. That's dedication to the craft, man. Yeah, I guess it turns out it might be good for some folks to get out of town if they possibly can. I don't know how the roads look, obviously, but we've got plenty of power here in Tallahassee, and you probably are going to like what you see on the field on Saturday. Let's start with the offense, I guess, right now, David. Cade Klubnik has been kind of I don't want to say revelation, because one of my best friends lives out in Austin, Texas, and he covered Cade for all 4 years he was in high school. And he's like, listen, man, that kid's going to be good. You're going to have problems with him. So sorry about that in advance, but we didn't necessarily see that really kind of flesh out last season. Year 2, Garrett Riley's system, has that been what's unlocked Cade in this offense so far this season? What do you think?
Yeah, I think something that Coach Swinney said today during our interview session with him is something that I felt for all along. He was at that great Austin Westlake program there in Austin, Texas. He had great players all around him. And as Dabo says, everything was kind of scripted for him to be great. He really never faced adversity. Didn't lose a game in high school, won all of those state championships. And then he gets to Clemson and the game's a little bit fast and you start facing some adversity and you have to grow through it. And he had his growing pains early last year. And then in those last 5 games, when Clemson had the 5-game winning streak, you could see him start to process it better, put it together better. He had the big fumble against Florida State. Remember when he got rocked? It was to return for a touchdown. He threw a pass that NC State linebacker Peyton Wilson intercepted that basically ended that game. There were just some weird plays where he was making these, as Sweeney put it, catastrophic mistakes that were killing
the last play against Miami, right, David?
Last play against Miami, you're like, what is going on here? And so you look at Clemson and the losses that they had last year, and a lot of it was kind of at his feet, that he had these catastrophic mistakes, and he is just not making them anymore. And you can tell that the game has slowed down for him.
Man, deep field shots, his legs, that's been a part of the attack for him. What is there anything that's opened one thing up for the other? Is it his running ability has opened up things downfield for the passing game, or has that downfield passing threat opened up avenues, lanes for him to run and create problems and chunks there?
I think it's the downfield passing game. I went back and they looked at a stat, if you can believe this, about a Clemson offense. They had 2 plays all of last season, just 2, that covered 50 yards or more, and one of those was a run. Is that Clemson's offense that everybody's used to? It's not. And there were really just 4 or 5 since the 2022 season. And I think part of that was they didn't trust their quarterback. I think part of it was the offensive line was not very good. I think part of it was the better wide receivers were injured. There was a whole lot going on. Injuries, probably not a lot of talent at wide receiver. And, you didn't see it against Georgia, and then they come out against App State, and I kind of already knew that they were going to take a deep shot to the freshman, Bryant Wesco. Boom, 74, 76 yards, and all of a sudden it's deep shot city all over the place. He's got a bunch of Frisbee catching dogs that are out there running deep routes. The offensive line is protecting him, second year in the system, and all of that is now opening everything underneath. It's opening up the running game. And when he escaped for that big run to kind of open the Stanford game Saturday, well, it's because both safeties were almost in the end zone when he started to run. They were covering everything deep. He had to beat one linebacker, and then it's open territory.
Let's go to that offensive line. Matt Luke, obviously first season out there in Clemson. I was in Jackson, Mississippi when he was at Ole Miss, and when Hugh Freeze was beating Nick Saban with guys like Bo Wallace and Chad Kelly, it was Matt Luke was his offensive line coach, and Matt Luke was at Georgia when they won the first of their national championship, steps away from the game, comes back and decides to, restart his career out there in Clemson. It feels like the tackles, Tristan Lee, Blake Miller, are kind of stalwarts. The interior's not nearly as sturdy as those guys on the bookends. Have you seen kind of some changes in what they've been able to do up front, just in terms of familiarity with one another and being able to execute this offense with what Matt Luke has brought in there? And how do you assess what's going on right now in the interior thing?
Yeah, it's really growth. Walker Parks has played something around, 2,800 snaps at Clemson, the right guard. Blake Miller, now year 3, he's growing up. Tristan Lee, former 5-star, he's growing up. Marcus Tate has battled some injuries. He's there. Really, the new guy is Ryan Linthicum there in the center. You kind of wondered how he would do. Another kind of former 5-star who's just been biding his time, or as he put it, he's been in the crock pot. That's what he told us the other day. I've been in the crock pot, been slow cooking here for a while. And Matt Luke has been a revelation to everybody around here. And I can remember a part during fall camp. We were out there. Clemson will move part of fall camp out of the football facility over to a place called Jervey Meadows, which is quite literally a grass parking lot behind the softball stadium. And Sweeney moves them out there for almost a week because he calls that his road trip during camp. It's hot out there. The grass is terrible. They're tackling each other in basically sand. And I can remember a drill where Matt Luke looked at one of the linemen and he said, "Do it again. Do it again. I know you're hot. Do it again." And he wanted them, while they were just doing reps on air, to pretend or to play like somebody was in front of them. And he kept telling them, "You're going to play how you practice. Do it again." And this offensive lineman's got sweat pouring everywhere. You can see it coming out of the helmet every time he takes a rep. And Matt's like, "Do it again. Do it again." And you see that, and you can see these players start to pick up on it. He has been amazing. And, I told the athletic director the other day in the press box, I said, you might as well get ready to back up the Brinks truck and do what you can to keep that man.
All right, offensively, obviously the loss of Will Shipley, a big hit. Phil Maffa kind of steps in, but I kind of want to talk about the receivers. It's not T. Higgins. It's not Justin Ross. It's not DeAndre Hopkins. It's guys of a different stature. Antonio Williams, obviously, you mentioned Bryant Wesco earlier in the interview here. What are those guys as receivers? What are they able to do so well? And just how dynamic is this receiving core right now, do you think, for Clemson?
Yeah, Antonio's more of a zone guy. He's a guy who can get open in the holes in the zone. He's probably not your real deep threat, but he's a guy who can get you 20 and 30 at a time. He's been around now. This is his third year. He's another one that's battled some injuries. Probably the leader in that room. Troy Stellato is another guy that's kind of a gritty, blue-collar type receiver who goes out and get that third down tough yard. I see him, it seems like, get rocked every week, and I think he's not going to get up, and then he gets up, making that tough catch over the middle. Tyler Brown is another kid that's from nearby Greenville who has not really played this year but should be now fully healthy for Florida State. He's kind of that speed threat that you've really been looking for. Bryant Wesco, the freshman out of Carroll there in Texas, he's kind of the speed threat. He's caught some deep passes. He now has more 50-plus yard plays than Clemson had all of last year, and he's done that in the first 4 games. Kind of tells you what. And then there's another kid that's from the Tampa area, TJ Moore, who is in that T. Higgins mold, who is in that DeAndre Hopkins mold. He's gotten a little lazy with his get off here lately, but he drew several pass interference penalties against Stanford.
All right, let's move to defense then now, David. Crazy to look at some of these numbers here. 53 pressures through 4 games for Clemson. Florida State, meanwhile, which has not been great shakes on defense, they got 79 pressures. But I don't know if anybody would necessarily want to trade Clemson's defense for Florida State's defense. Has it been? I know it's been kind of a weird season for Clemson, at least defensively. I mean, the Georgia game, you throw that out. App State, when you blow them out, you score 8 touchdowns in the first half. I'm sure you're going to let the foot off the gas, and they're going to get some points. Stanford was able to get some points late in that game as well too. So, just how good, or are the numbers really what Clemson's defense is, or are those pretty inaccurate to just how talented this unit is and the way they play?
They're a little inaccurate in that, yes, Clemson has played a lot of guys. There were guys playing against both NC State and App State. I am like, oh my gosh, haven't heard that name in a couple of years. He's a walk-on from some high school 30 miles down the road. So that's who was in the game late for those guys. And NC State did all of their damage against third and fourth string guys. Same thing for App State. They did a lot of that damage. But the lack of pressures is concerning. The lack of sacks is concerning. They did get 3 or 4 last week, but what teams have learned kind of out of that Georgia playbook. So Georgia figured out early on, standing back in the pocket, waiting on a deep pass to develop, not working against Clemson's pressure. They came out with a quick game. Boom, 2-step drop throw. Boom, 2-step drop throw. Get passes out quick on the perimeter. Clemson has really struggled in covering plays out on the perimeter. And so App State's like, oh, we saw what happened there. We're going to do that too. They really didn't let Joey Aguilar stand in the pocket too much. He was getting the ball out fast and making Clemson's linebackers make plays out in space. NC State, they let CJ Bailey stand back there probably a little too much, the freshman, and Clemson got a lot of pressure on him. And then we saw it against Stanford that they created 3 turnovers, 3 interceptions. It's getting better. And then, maybe good news for Clemson, not good news for Florida State, is that Peter Woods, the big-time defensive end, he will be back this week.
Okay, that kid, I was telling somebody on Tuesday that I remember being in Death Valley last year for the game and looking at pre-game warm-ups. I'm like, who is this guy? And then I looked up his recruiting profile. I'm like, okay, that checks out. He looks like every bit of a 5-star.
He does. It's really funny. He's a 319-pound guy playing defensive end. And remember, Clemson did that with Christian Wilkins 4 or 5 years ago, where it's like, okay, so they had some injuries. We're going to move Christian Wilkins, who was probably 308. And I thought, he's good out there, but not great. He really should just move back inside as soon as the injuries, are healed. And that's what they did. And so I remember telling somebody at 319, I don't think Peter Woods can play out there. I don't know what the coaches are seeing. And then you see him go out there against Georgia, and he might have been the best defensive player on the field for Clemson, just wreaking havoc everywhere. He does have the speed. He can set the edge. He can run to the sideline. He's quite amazing. And, Dabo told us that when they signed him a couple of years ago, he thought they got the best high school recruit in the country with him. And maybe that's so.
Yeah, kid's really impressive looking. DJ's not going to play. He got ruled out on Tuesday. We saw a report come out on Monday that he got injured. I think, Dabo said something along the lines of it's not Clemson versus DJ, it's Clemson versus Florida State.
Sure.
How forward were you guys looking to seeing DJ on the other side of the ball for once, maybe?
Well, I think, I would have loved to have seen him. I like the kid. I have a great relationship.
He's an awesome human being. Yeah, he's a great kid, great human being. High level, elite college quarterback maybe falls short of that distinction,
He does, and was really looking forward to seeing him. I already texted him. I hope I see him down there this weekend. But I think a lot of Clemson fans were looking forward to seeing him. And I know Barrett Carter, Clemson's linebacker, he loves DJ, but he said, hey, as soon as the ball snapped, I'm going to be in his ear. I'm going to be talking to him the entire time. RJ Mickens, Clemson safety, said they came in together with that Clemson recruiting class. He told us today he's really sad that he's not going to get to see him. He said, because he's still one of my best friends. I love the guy. He said, I'm praying for him. I hope he heals. I hope he gets back on the field. I know Clemson's players were looking forward to seeing him. I know that they were looking forward to playing against him. And I think Clemson fans who probably feel a lot of the same way that Florida State fans feel about DJ, we're probably looking forward to seeing him maybe get beat up a little bit.
Want to button up one thing on defense before I ask you a big picture question and let you go. And thanks so much again, David, for taking time out. But just, looking at the numbers against traditional stats, the defense right now allowing over 400 yards a game. That's 100th in the country. Teams are actually able to rush 183 yards they're allowing on the ground, 104th in the country. Is there, the level of talent, you mentioned Mickens, Khalil Barnes, another safe that's been there for a while, Avion Terrell, a cornerback, not as involved, obviously, in the rushing sort of aspect of things, but, maybe Peter Woods' absence affects there. Does Goodwin and this defense, do they feel like they've got gears to hit and unlock things, or does it feel like this is going to be maybe a team that's going to rely on Cade and the offense to carry the day?
I think they're going to rely on Cade and the offense, but again, you have to remember they were up 56-0 on App State in the second quarter, and that's when the reserve started to come in. And then boom, early in the third quarter, up 52-7 on NC State. Starters are out at that point, and that's when both of those teams really got all of those yards. And then against Stanford, I think was kind of the opposite. They gave up some. So Stanford was great. Stanford came out, and I think it was probably early in that second drive of theirs. I thought, you know what I'm watching? I'm watching Stanford run Paul Johnson's triple option offense out of the shotgun. That's what I'm watching. And Clemson's defensive ends were getting way too far upfield because they'd see the quarterback roll out, think pass, but he's just merely running the triple option. And as soon as the defensive end came upfield, boom, quarterback's running out, and he's getting 12 yards a pop. And so Clemson then made the adjustment on that and came out after halftime, 55 yards in the second half. That's it.
All right.
Shut Stanford completely down. Stanford had to change quarterbacks. So, I do think there are concerns. I think Clemson is vulnerable on the perimeter, but we just haven't seen that defense really play a full game.
All right, last thing, kind of big picture question on the way out, David. They came to Tallahassee last time around undefeated and top 5 in the country, but I felt like Dabo came into that game. Some of the early conversation that season was that, Florida State maybe had turned a corner under Mike Norvell and they were back. They jump out to like a 4-0 start, but then Clemson was the third of 3 straight losses. But going into that game, I just felt like Dabo was trying to reassert himself, as opposed to like, you guys think that we're going somewhere at Clemson and Florida State might be on the come up. But, Clemson came in and played a fantastic middle sort of 8 there coming out of the last 4 minutes of the second quarter and the first 4 minutes of the third quarter and kind of put Florida State away. I just feel like so much of the narrative around Florida State using the portal, Dabo doesn't want to use the portal. Dabo was a punchline 4 weeks ago. And then now we sit here in their top 15 and they might be the best team in the conference. We'll see if it's them or Miami right now. But how much do you think this game, for Dabo, I don't know, so much like to send a message there, but I feel like every sort of obstacle in Dabo's way when it comes to him having to prove himself against his peers that might be using the portal and he hasn't used it. I feel like he's going to have a little something extra for those sort of games. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Oh boy, do I. It's interesting that Clemson fans get angry at Dabo because a lot of times they'll get ahead of a team and then all of a sudden exactly what's happened the first, these last couple of games. They get ahead and Dabo's like, I'm going to play everybody on the roster. The stats get all bent out of shape and people get angry. But he stayed with the starters longer against NC State and Dave Doran than I thought he would. And I wondered if Cade Klubnik would come out there in the second half on that first drive. And Clemson actually went for it on fourth down. And you're going, oh, okay. And then they were going for it on fourth down late against App State. And it's almost like Dabo's trying to prove something to a lot of people. And he is doing things a little bit differently than he has in the past. And I think he likes Dave Doran at NC State. He might be the only person in the ACC that likes Dave Doran, if that's true. But it almost looked like he was sending a message across to that other sideline that, hey, we're still the best. NC State had won 2 out of 3, both of them up in Raleigh, but they'd beaten Clemson 2 out of 3. And I think Dabo was sending a message. And I kind of have no doubt that if he has a chance to send a message this weekend, he would do it again.
Sorry, I lied. Last thing, just after that Georgia game, I don't know. I just felt like almost the more impressive thing was how the way Clemson played in that first half as opposed to how the final score looked and how dominant Georgia was at the end of it. But I know like it instantly went to Cade Klubnik. Is he going to be good enough? And I think, Dabo said he had trust in him. I think Cade even had like a little bit of a Tebow-esque kind of, interview after that game. Like, I'm going to come in here tomorrow. I'm going to work my tail off and et cetera, et cetera. And like, he seemingly has kind of done that. I mean, are you surprised to see where Clemson has come from that first game, or has this kind of squared up to your expectations going into the year?
Yeah, it's been kind of what we saw in fall camp. And it's really weird. I talked to another media member, and it was almost like the way that Dabo treated that Georgia game. He said it doesn't matter. This is our preseason scrimmage. The offense didn't look anything like it has since then. It was just weird. Did Clemson tank in that game on purpose? No, of course not. But it was just weird. But here's the deal with Cade. I have called Cade the playful puppy. He just bounces around. He just bounces everywhere. He's just always happy running around. And that changed. And he came to the ACC kickoff. I saw him at a camp he put on here. And I texted somebody and I said, I think the puppy's gone and it's been replaced by a more mature dog, if that's a good way to put it. And I think that mature dog is really starting to rise to the occasion.
All right. Well, we'll see if how that works out for Cade and Dabo
Sure.
and Clemson. 7 p.m. ESPN on Saturday night here in Doak Campbell Stadium.
I can't wait to get down there, by the way. One of my favorite environments. I love coming to Doak.
Yeah, well, we're under construction right now. We'll be bigger and better and brighter the next time you guys are in town, but it still should be pretty raucous as it always is in Doak at night. David Hood from TigerNet joining us here on Wake Up Warchant. Again, David, I hope everything starts trending in a good direction for everybody over there in the Carolinas. Our
Thank
thoughts,
you so much,
folks. Thanks again for taking time out.
Hey, thank you for having me on.
Football's in full swing, and fall is right around the corner. If not already at our door, have we hit fall equinox? I don't know. I'm not sure. But fuel up for both with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet all of your wellness goals thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals. They are dietitian approved and they're ready to eat in just 2 minutes, everybody. So no matter how busy you are, and we're all busy, I get it. Well, y'all are busy. Y'all have kids and wives and stuff. I don't have either. You're always going to have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals with Factor. So make today the day you start it off and you change it all up with a new healthy routine. What are you waiting for? Make every day delicious by treating yourself to restaurant-quality meals that feature premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, and even blackened salmon. Head to factormeals.com/wakeup50. Use the code WAKEUP50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That code is WAKEUP50 at factormeals.com/wakeup50. Again, 50% off the first box, 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. Corey, let's go ahead and maybe throw some over-unders. I know you've got one already in mind after having listened to the Seminole headlines. On first blush, it sounds very like hyperbolic of a prop. But then when you you squint and then you look up at the ceiling and you kind of start doing the math in your head and you realize the opponent in front of you, you're like, well, maybe that is an attainable, I don't want to call it an attainable goal, but an attainable number. What's one of the first things that came to your mind when you thought about throwing an over-under out there for this one?
Yeah, it was Alex Mastromano punting yards. I do think I'm going to go. So I think I said it at 380 on Seminole headlines. I think I do want to go a little under because I do think he's going to try to make it a less possession game. And so 6 punts is 7 punts, I think, is the max. Because he goes for it on fourth down a lot.
Yes.
They might be on the other side of the field where they can try a long field goal, or they might put up 40 points and never punt. Everything's an option. But I think I'm going to make it 300 yards.
Okay. 300.
No, 3. So I think 7 is the max. Yeah, I'm going to make it. I think everybody's going to take the over there. I'm trying to think of a number where I can get action on both sides. How about 340?
Okay.
340 total punting yards for Alex Mastromano on Saturday night.
What do you think about Clemson defense? Defensive points scored 6.5.
Well, yeah, it's either got to be 0, like 1/2.
5.5, I think 5.5. Right.
Well,
Just
sure,
make it
but
sound
I would say
cool.
it's either got to be 1.5. It's got to be either half or 5.5. Yeah, I would. That's a good number. Sure, absolutely.
All right, we'll do defensive touchdowns scored, which is just a mouthful. That's why I'm like defensive points scored. All right, 1/2 on there. I know you want to get action on both sides of the line, so I guess I'd have to go down to 2.5. I'm going to say Florida State turnovers 2.5. I really want to go 3.5. I think it's just not going to be great. With this 3.5, a bridge too far. 2.5 going to be more balanced.
I will say this: Brock Glenn only turned it over twice against Georgia. And that was a far worse predicament he was in with far worse players, frankly. So I would say, or at least less experienced against a better team. So I think 2.5 is a good number.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, what else are you thinking for this one? Number 15, Clemson, 7 p.m., ESPN, Doak Campbell Stadium.
How about I always like the tackles for loss. I like Florida State tackles for loss. I do think, and here's the thing, I would not be shocked. Really, not at all. If they slowed Clemson down quite a bit, I am not quite sold on the rejuvenation of the Clemson offense quite yet. I obviously he's playing a lot better than he has, and he might end up being a really good quarterback. He might already be there, but the last time he faced what I would term a talented defense, let's not say it's a good defense, but a talented defense, he looked lost. Georgia is obviously much better defensively than Florida State is, but as Dabo said in his Tuesday press conference, all of Florida State's starting defensive linemen will be draft picks in the NFL. So this is not just a walk in the park for Klubnik, and he doesn't have good memories against Florida State. So I don't think Clemson's offensive line is incredible either. So I could see 7.5 tackles, 7 tackles for loss.
My goodness. All right, 6.5.
I think so. We'll put 6.5 tackles for loss. I think Peyton and Marvin and Jackson and Farmer can get to him a few times.
I'm going to add special teams to the defensive proposition for Clemson, by the way, everybody. But that'll be in the sheet, the form that you fill out over on Google. All right, let's. Do you want to do Brock total yards or rushing yards or passing yards? We got to do some Brock-centric.
How about Brock rushing attempts, not counting sacks?
Can you?
Yeah, you can do that. You can look up the numbers and the stats, and you'll see the sacks. They total up the sacks. So if he ends up having 11 rushing attempts, and then Clemson had 5 sacks, they track all that. You'll know the number is 6. So
Okay.
it's easy to figure that out after the game.
So
So I'm going to Brock rushing attempts, non-sack.
Love it. All right. What's the number?
I'm going to say 7.5.
7.5. I like him. Okay. You want to do Kyle Morlock over under receptions?
Nope. Let's do
Longest. You want to do longest rush?
think-
Longest play for Florida State? That'll be the tiebreaker. We'll go with that one, I guess. That'll be the
How
tiebreaker.
about longest rush? I think that's a good one.
Okay.
Like over under longest rush.
Okay.
I'm going to say
22
I know
and a half?
everybody's going to I think everybody's going to take the under, but I was going to say 25.5.
Let's go 23 and a half.
They can bust one. It can happen. You've got a mobile quarterback out there now. There's a chance that opens up some things.
Okay.
It better not, though, because if it does, people are going to be like, Mike, what the hell, man? What was the last 5 weeks about if all of a sudden now you can run the ball against Clemson when you couldn't run the ball against anyone? So it'd probably be better for Mike if they only rush for 71 yards or something, or 11 yards.
All right, and we'll do Brock total yards as a tiebreaker. Do you want to throw anything in there? You want to swap anything out for over under one
How
half?
about I
Luke
think I got
Kromenhoek
another one.
snaps?
That's exactly what I was going to say is Kromenhoek snaps. And I was going to put it at like, how about this? How about this? Snaps to quarterbacks not named Brock Glenn, so that can incorporate the Wildcat, maybe Trevor Jackson, maybe Kromenhoek. I'm going to put that at 6.5.
All right, so to non-quarterbacks or not, people not named Brock Glenn?
People not named Brock Glenn.
Okay. What was the number again?
6.5.
6.5. All right. Your over-under menu for this week, everybody. Win $10 to Garnet and Gold, locally owned and operated, diehard Noles. If you want something Florida State related to wear, put on your car, fly from your home, Garnet and Gold's got you covered. Alex Mastromanno, total punt yardage, 340. Combined touchdown score for Clemson's defense and special teams, 1/2, 0.5. Florida State turnovers, 2.5. Florida State defensive tackles for loss, 6.5. Brock Glenn rushing attempts, not including sacks, 7.5. The longest rush for Florida State, 23.5. And the number of snaps to people for Florida State not named Brock Glenn, 6.5. Your tiebreaker, Brock Glenn total yardage. Go to warchant.com. Tribal Council will be pinned to the top. Maybe not today, but at least by Thursday. Maybe I'll go ahead and get it out of the way. We'll tweet it out from the Wake Up Warchant account on Friday. It'll be open to everybody. So even if you're not a member, you can get in on this. So get in on this and try to win $10 at Garden and Gold. Anything else on your mind, Corey? Whether it's big picture, small picture, just life in general?
Yeah, actually, it has to do with that last over/under that we came up with. I was intrigued that every single question that Mike Norvell was asked about Brock Glenn, at least the first 4 that I watched to write the story on Tuesday afternoon, the first 4 questions that he was asked about Brock Glenn, specifically Brock Glenn,
Right.
he made sure to mention Luke Kromenhoek in every answer. It caught my ear a little bit.
Any theories as to why? I mean, are we trying to say that maybe is he trying to let Luke know that you're not far behind? You can do some stuff here in practice to get you in the mix for this. Is it to maybe take pressure off Brock so he doesn't feel overwhelmed? Is it to maybe try to confuse Clemson? Like, we might throw the kitchen sink at you, you know?
Oh, I don't think it's that. I don't think it's the last one. But the other two, the other two, absolutely. I think it is. It could be. It could be that. It could be either trying to keep Luke involved, trying to let Brock know that this is not just your job, period. There's still a competition. Or he could be Luke Kromenhoek might be a part of the very near future. And he's making sure people know that he's got 2 backup quarterbacks, not just one. So, yeah, that was literally, if you guys go back and watch the interview, he keeps getting asked about Brock, and he keeps coming back to, and Luke too, like he talked about Brock Glenn having a bounce about him. And then he goes, and Luke has that too. And it's like, okay,
Right,
well, nobody asked you about Luke. And then something about DJ, and there's now an opportunity. He's like, yeah, there's an opportunity for both of them. And I'm excited to see them go through those doors of opportunity and try to cash in or something. It's like, yeah, okay. You keep talking about both of them as if there's a chance you think both of them will play, or maybe even Brock isn't going to play. You know what I mean? Like it's probably not that Luke Kromenhoek is going to play against Clemson, but because I mean, golly, that talk about throwing somebody to the wolves. But I certainly wasn't. I wasn't expecting him to talk so much about Kromenhoek, and maybe that's just on me. Than he did on because again, I just want to reemphasize this. He wasn't asked about Luke. If he had asked about Luke, yeah, man, answer questions. Say that you like what you're seeing out of him. He was talking about him as he was answering questions about Brock. Repeatedly. 4 different times he did that. So I thought that was really interesting. But, yeah, I don't know what that means. That's why I was intrigued by it. But, yeah, I think there's a chance the way he talked that this is just not Brock Glenn's show for the next 6 weeks. I think there's a chance that I wish he'd have mentioned Trevor Jackson, quite honestly. But there's a chance that Kromenhoek will be thrown into the mix here too, because the way he talked about him just wasn't normal when you're asked a question about a specific player to keep bringing up his, quote unquote backup.
Is it worth asking, Mike? Like, were you upset when you found out that news of DJ's injury was like leaked out to the public? Or is that not like irrelevant to wherever we're at right now in this journey this season? Because I do wonder, because listen, the way that we're instructed to report about practice, if that report never comes out from Pete Thamel, I don't know if they would have told me not to film DJ, like even in those early periods, but we're not allowed to film the offense in period number 3. We can't film anything in period 3. Period 4, we're not allowed to film the offense at all.
I'm sorry. I was confused. I thought you were saying were you were going to ask him if he was upset that DJ was hurt. But you're asking if he's upset that people know that he's not going to play.
Right, because
I got you. Yeah.
You mentioned on the show yesterday, like the second string, free safety, he doesn't want injury information, like black and white status kind of floated out there. Although, listen, I mean, he went ahead and said it after practice Tuesday that he's going to be out for this week when we asked him about it. But I don't know if anybody on the beat would have asked him about it if that report didn't come out. And I don't know if they need all the help they can get, it feels like. And I don't know how much of DJ preparing versus Brock changed anything for Clemson. But I just wonder if, at least maybe give him some sort of platform to vent on, or he'll just brush it off, or he'll just stare at me like, why do you keep asking me questions? I don't like you.
I don't think he dislikes you, Aslan. I don't think that. I mean, I think that's I think there's some friction there occasionally, but I think overall, if he saw you at corner pocket, and Mike, why aren't you coming up to corner pocket? But what's your problem? What's your deal? But if he came up to corner pocket and saw you, I think he'd hang out with you and laugh and joke and have a pretty good time with you, buddy. But yeah, it's an interesting question because he is so tight-lipped about injuries and we don't ever talk about him. And then it got out nationally. I would be interested what his answer would be, but I think he would probably just stare at you. And if you say, were you unhappy the fact that the news about DJ got out there, he might just look at you and say yes.
They do one of those things, where he's like, yes.
Yes. And then, a couple of the beat reporters will laugh nervously and
the worst.
All that nonsense.
I wish they'd stop that guy.
They would giggle and then move on to another question. So that's on you. I don't think you're going to get a great response, but you can certainly ask the question.
Yeah, man, I saw that comment in the comments section on the Monday Smash. I'm like, that's and I don't want to go down that road, but some conspiracy Aslan. I was like, well, maybe because who would tell? Who would go ahead and tell Pete Thamel that? I don't think Brock Glenn's dad is, but whatever. It's fine. It's fine.
You know what else I saw? And I don't ever see the comments, but sometimes I don't ever read comments, period. But on YouTube, I was listening to the Norvell press conference yesterday on Monday to write a story I wrote, or the column I wrote, that you didn't, praise, but that's fine. It's fine. You don't.
I was listening to you on two. I was listening to you for 2 hours on headlines, yelling at my computer. Let Corey cook.
I wrote this on Monday, is what I'm saying. This has been on the site for 24 hours.
I liked it. I liked it.
That's fine.
Post.
Okay, hey man, thanks. But I was listening to the right when you posted it, the Mike Norvell press conference on Monday. I had to listen to it to get the quotes about the young guys playing and the quarterbacks and everything. And I can only see one comment because I'm listening to it on my phone. It's that first comment, and the comment is to the effect, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it's like, I'm tired of all the talk. Go do something.
Mm-hmm.
And my response to that would be, if you're tired of the talk, why are you watching an effing press conference? What is he supposed to do? Put on a helmet and tackle the podium? Like, he's there to talk. That's the whole context of it. But I get it. People want to vent. But I just thought the comment section of a press conference that you clicked on is a weird time to say, I'm tired of all the talk. It's like that's all he's supposed to do in this setting. Yeah. But yeah, it's like
showing up to Starbucks and complaining about it smells like coffee in here.
I'm tired of all this coffee smell. It's disgusting.
Gross.
What are y'all doing? Or like, why does ESPN keep showing sports all the time? So yeah, it was just I was really, but it made me laugh. I wasn't really genuinely mad or upset about it or anything. But it's like that's where we are. Like the fan base is there's an anger here, and it's an anger that's. I think it comes from the fact that really, again, like it's a fan base that I talked about it a few weeks ago. This is the I don't know, man, the Space Mountain of football programs. What's a better roller coaster? The Goliath. I know Six Flags Atlanta has the Goliath, which is unbelievable.
Okay.
It's actually kind of scary. I did it once with Brady when he was like 11, and it's the last roller coaster I rode. It's like 2 miles long. It's high. It's fast. It's big. But yeah, it's like you put them on the Goliath. And it's like they won a national championship 10 years ago. Or 10 years ago, they were in the midst of a 29-game winning streak. They cratered. They got back to winning 19 straight games, started feeling themselves again, because they're Florida State fans. They should. And now they've cratered again. So there's just an anger that most fan bases will never be able to understand. These last really 25 years have been crazy.
Yeah. I was thinking about that earlier on Tuesday to myself about, like, when you really think about it, we've only had 2 seasons in the last 10 years where you realistically were in the mix in November. That's always just kind of, that was like my thing going into like,
yeah,
that 23, I was like, I really thought you could compete for a national title, but at the least it was just like, just give me hope in November, make games still matter to where you can do some scoreboard watching. Like if this team loses and then this team loses, we can jump. Like that's all you really want to be, just to give me a chance in November. And it's like, man, they've not really been in the mix in November, other than, when they went to the semifinal in last year, obviously. 3-game skid in 22. I mean, 16, they lost to Carolina and Louisville in September. Maybe it was early October they lost to Louisville. 17, obviously, you start off 0-2 for the first time in however long it was. 2015, that Georgia game didn't necessarily totally derail you, but then you lost to Clemson not long after. I think that was in October as well. So, yeah.
The Georgia Tech game, yeah. But you started out that season 6-0 or whatever it was, that 2015 season with smoke and mirrors, really, because it was Golson and Smag. Yeah, man. But it's so there's an anger of like it's a frustration that is born out of just being completely tired of this, like tired of all the ups and downs. Like I guess it's better to have ups. You don't want to just be down forever, but it's like, why can't you get up and stay up? We see it happen all over the country. Texas is still pretty good. Washington, I guess, is taking a step back, but I don't know what their record is. I'm going to go ahead and guess, not having paid attention to Washington football at all, that they're not 1-4 and are averaging 15.2 points per game. I bet they're better than that.
They are 3-2 right now with new head coach Jed Fish, and they are averaging 25.2 points per game.
Yeah, they did take a big step back, though, but still 10 more points more than you and 2 more wins. So to go from, like we talked about at the beginning of the show, to go from undefeated to awful, that's hard for a fan base, man. And it's because blips aren't supposed to be this blippy. It's a blip should be 8 wins, 7 wins, not 2 or 3. It'd be like the Chiefs this year. It's like the Chiefs going 3-14 this year. But that ain't going to happen. But why is it happening to Florida State again with a different coach? It's the third coach that's gone from undefeated to at least 4 or 5 losses, and a lot more than that are coming in the span of a year.
Yeah, man.
Bobby Bowden played for the national championship in 2000. In 2001, they got beat by 35 points by North Carolina.
Oh, weird game, though.
I know, but that wasn't their only loss. Didn't they go?
Yeah, like
8-4
or something. Yeah.
And then they lost 5 times the next year. And then Jimbo goes from undefeated, 29-game winning streak, to 3 losses. Oh, God, the program's done. Why does this keep happening to Florida State? You're not Auburn. You're not Auburn. And Auburn's been down for a while now, but they haven't had the recent success that Florida State did the last 2 years. But you're not supposed to be Auburn, where it looks like a heart machine, up and down and up and down. It should be kind of even keel on a heart machine as you're dead, right? You don't want to flatline it. Yeah, but you're flatlined right now. Let's get some more beeps in there. That was a bad analogy.
Yeah, but it doesn't dip below the line though. It ticks up and then it comes back to the center. And then it ticks back up and comes back to the center. The center would just be like 8-4, almost, or like 10. I mean, if you talk about being at the top, like Alabama, a 10 win is like the floor, and then you ping up to 12, and then you ping back up. Like
Florida State, they'll have a good season, then it'll be a code red. Yeah. Not a code red. What is it? Code blue?
We got a big important surgery going on later today. Let's stop using medical metaphors on the show.
But now I feel bad. Is it a code blue when things don't go well in a surgery and they call everybody in? I think I've watched enough ER and shows like that. But code red is obviously what they did to Santiago in A Few Good Men, because he ratted on one of his fellow Marines for shooting at the Cuban soldier. So
code blue.
I'm not going to say
code blue is used to indicate that a patient requires resuscitation or is in need of immediate medical attention.
Well, that's Florida State football in a nutshell. It's not a code red. Apparently, it needs a code red. But some guys from last year's team could come back and deliver one. But it's just bizarre that this keeps happening to this fan base. It is crazy that Aslan. Would you be surprised if they went 3-9 this year?
No. I mean, they should be able to beat Carolina, Duke, and Florida, and Charleston Southern. That's 4 right there. But yeah, I guess.
I mean, they should be, but I feel like those are coin toss games when you have such a bad offense.
Right.
And you never know you don't know who's going to be the quarterback. But I'm saying, the way this season is played out, we will not be stunned if they're only 3. If they only win 3 games this year, meaning they are historically. They have come back. It's been a historical amount of negative wins from last year. To go from 12 wins in the regular season to 3 puts them near the all-time record for worst win margins from one year to another.
According to Michael Hoffman, who we don't even know if he's a real person.
Yeah, but
kidding, Michael. Thank you.
But I'm saying, I haven't done the research yet, and I'm not going to take Michael Hoffman's word for him. As much as I love Michael Hoffman, I am actually going to do some research if it gets to this. If we're staring at if their next win is Charleston Southern, I'm absolutely going to start looking this up, because it can't be much worse than that. The record would be 11. Like if somebody went 12-0 to a 1-11, but I can't imagine that's ever happened. Yeah. Southern Miss, I looked it up, was 10-2 that year in the regular season, and then winless the next year. So that's the leader in the clubhouse, probably 10 wins, a 10-win difference. Well, that's not all off the table. But even if you lose, if you go backwards 8 or 9 wins, you're talking about a historical type collapse. Yeah. And I think Florida State fans are right to think, why does this keep happening to us with different coaches? So, I think that's where the frustration, the anger, the going way back to that earlier comment about the YouTube comment, that's where it stems from, where people are tired. They're fed up. They're fed up with the program that gives them so much joy, gets their hopes so high that they're finally back. This is not a one-off. This is not a 2 or 3 year off. They are sustainable for the next decade, and then they immediately plunge back into the center of the earth.
Well, with that said, we'll be back with another show tomorrow for you folks. Not sure if it's going to be live or not. But we'll get a show for you, and then we'll have a mailbag for Friday's program. We'll be back at practice today as well, so check out warchant.com for the updates and the latest out of practice. We'll get Coach Norvell afterwards, and think we might have a good shot at getting Brock Glenn. So stay connected for that, as well as the Jeff Cameron Show, 1 to 4 o'clock, 93.3 FM, as well as Warchant TV. That's fancy for our YouTube channel, which you should be subscribed to. Subscribe to warchant.com as well. Again, FSU 2 months, $1. It's fun. Come over there. Water's just fine. We're all talking, coping together. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy.